Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society of Wellesley Hills. I'm Director of Congregational Life and Learning, Michael Packard. I use he, his, him pronouns, and I'm happy to be your worship leader today. Welcome all who seek renewal in our weary world. Welcome all who come in love with energy to share. Welcome to those who worry for the future. Welcome each one who is grateful for today. Know that in this place you are not alone. In community we share our strength with one another and we keep the flame of love burning bright. Know that in this place responsibility is shared. Here tradition holds us. Ancestors shine a light from the past. Here the young lift their bright faces and beckon us onward. Take my hand and we can go on together. So there's a few announcements here before we move on with service. Today is a busy day. If we haven't heard it from social media or the various communications have gone out, we got a lot going on today. Jessica noted that there's a Blue Sky Future feedback session. That's going to be after the Black Lives Matter vigil, which starts at noon. So once that is over, we'll inside and put stuff away. You can go down to the Sharp Room for the Blue Sky Future feedback session in person. And there's also the Family Promise Walk that happens at Natick High School. That goes from 12 to 3, but the walk starts itself at 1. And we have a walking team that's meeting there at 12:30. Meet by the front door if you plan to walk. Also today is the first day of our snack drive for the Out Metro West youth. You'll see a bin out front. And that's going to be in the vestibule every Sunday in May. You can bring snacks. You can see that there's a list of which snacks are their favorites. So if you didn't see the announcements yet, beginning of the week or during the week, next week you can plan to bring some other snacks for that. And I think this is the last week for the diaper collection. So that bin will be out as of next week. This week also, tomorrow is the men's breakfast. It didn't get on the order of service, so I just want to reminder that 8:30 at Maugust is the men's breakfast. There's also going to be a facilitated feedback session for the Blue Sky Future, the recommendations that they made. So 8:30 tomorrow is the men's breakfast. Next Saturday, as you've probably seen, we've talked about, we got the G. Rockwell Bluegrass concert. That's in Parish Hall. That's going to give some people some space to dance, hopefully. And that's at 7 p.m. on Saturday. Now the last one. We mentioned that next Sunday is going to be Hymn Sing Sunday, and we've already sent out electronic poll. Well, if you like to do things, if you're a more hands-on person, we have an activity that you can do today. In each pew on either side, there are sticky notes, except for the front one, only in the middle, right? There are little sticky notes, and if you want to grab a hymnal, you can choose the gray hymnal or the teal one. Pick out your 3 favorite hymns, and by picking them out, you just stick one of the sticky notes on the page that they're on. You can do that at any time today during the service. I won't be offended. So anytime you want to pick out 3, what I'll do during the week is I'll go through all these hymnals. At some point, I'll just walk around, and all the pages that are flagged, I'll make a note of those hymns. We'll add it to the list that's already being generated electronically. And voila, we'll have some greatest hits, basically, next Sunday for the hymn sing. So now we light our chalice. Our chalice becomes the flaming chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalist faith when it's lit on our altar. And we light it each Sunday. If you happen to be watching from home, you have a chalice on hand, you may want to light yours now. The words for our chalice lighting are spoken in unison, and you'll find the words printed in your order of service or appearing on your screen. Please join me in saying them as Jessica lights our chalice this morning. We light this chalice, illuminate our faithful way forward, an inspirational community. Together we seek spiritual growth, strive for justice and responsible action, dedicate ourselves to leading lives. Now, let us deepen into worship with these words from the Reverend Leslie Takahashi. Here in this place of peace, may we find hope. Here in this place of connection, may we find life-giving community. Here in this place of rest, let the unrest of our hearts turn us towards justice. Here in this space made sacred by memories of connection, let us each feel ourselves part of the new that grows from the old in the spiraling unity of years. We are joyfully called to worship. It's a lot of talking before the story. So I have a story that in perhaps another universe would be a true story all the way through. In this one, there are parts that are true about it, but it's by itself is not a true story. In order to help me tell it, I do have something from the Wonder Box to get. And he's going to be with us the rest of the service. So, this is a pig. He's got what looks like jet rockets on the back, the helmet, and some goggles. It's a jet pig. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the jet pig as I tell the story. So the story we imagine, there's a religious ed director who wants to teach about the proposed new values that would be replacing the 7 principles of the Unitarian Universalist Association, the bylaws. So he hears that the 6 values, they're kind of heady concepts, but they're basically one word for each one. And they are justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. So J-E-T-P-I-G, you get jet pig. The acronym has come out by other UU religious educators, and this is true. And then some other creative folks decided, hey, we should actually make a mascot out of this. And there are jet pigs all around UU churches now, and this is also true. This is our personal one. His name was Wilbur, but he decided that it was okay to dress up as jet pig today for this service. So this is our jet pig. So this jet pig is a good teaching tool to teach about these new values that seem to be coming down the pipe. So this religious ed director of a UU church not far from here planned out a couple activities over 2 different Sundays, and he taught the youth and the children of that congregation about the new values through jet pig. And it was a rousing success. In fact, the village ed director wanted to expand the reach of jet pig. How else can I do it, I wonder, he thought. It turned out he didn't have to go much further than the same building that they worshipped in. Because see, there was another religious organization that worshipped on the evenings on Sunday in the same place. It was a Sai Baba group. And the Sai Baba group, they didn't worship at the same time, so they didn't necessarily know the UUs other than they were a rental and they met some people over time. And the religious ed director from the UU church and the educational director of the Sai Baba group, they wanted to do something together, and they had talked, but they weren't really sure what they could do together. Jet Pig gave the UU director a good idea. Well, maybe I can teach them about how my organization is trying to move forward with its new values. So they talked and they said, yeah, we got an idea, and they made a plan. So step 1, in the afternoon after UU worship was over and the RE time was over, the director left Jet Pig on a table in the middle of their main classroom and said, hi, I'm Jet Pig. I love Unitarian Universalism. What else would you like to know about me? And that note was left for the Sai Baba group. Step 2, the educators from the Sai Baba group needed to engage with Jet Pig, and the kids were curious and they did have some questions. So then step 3 was, let's get them together. So the UU director had some volunteers. They decided on a time that would be good to invite him and the volunteers to come and be with the Sai Baba group. And they did that, and it was a rousing success. Sai Baba kids learned about JetPig and UU values. The UUs learned about the values that the Sai Baba group had. And it was a great success. It's a great success because of the initiative, because the connections that were made were timely and thoughtful, and it really all could not have been done without our friend, the JetPig. Let us take a moment to relax, catch our breath. Let us bring our focus here to this room, this group of people, into this moment. We bring a myriad of talents, ideas, needs, and styles. Yet within this diversity, there is common bond between us. We love this fellowship, and we are willing to work together to improve and to strengthen this community of ours and our lives. With these words from Bernadette Burns in our hearts and on our minds, let us enter into sacred silence, letting the Spirit rise within us. May it be so. Spirit of life and love, we turn our minds and hearts toward one another, seeking to bring into the circle of concern those who need our love and our support. Those who are ill, those who are in pain, either in body or in spirit. Those who are lonely, those who have been wronged. We are part of a web of life that makes us all one with each other, one with humanity, and one with all universes. We are grateful for the miracle of consciousness that we share, the consciousness that gives us the power to remember, to care, and to love. We share our joy and gratitude with one another. We remember those who are suffering and struggling, and we heed the call to build beloved community in our wider world, and we lift up our own ability to be resilient and to care and to love. This morning, hold in our hearts all those affected, whether by death or by family from the Holocaust. Those here in sanctuary, as you feel moved, please rise in your seat and simply state the names of those persons or places you are holding in your heart, either as a source of concern or for celebration. I will light our central candle of joys and sorrows in honor of them all, and I will bring the mic around. If you're comfortable, please tell us if it is a joy or a sorrow. Those in our online pews, you can type your name, or the names or places that you're thinking in the UU Wellesley Hills Facebook page, and we'll read them next week. Are there any more names today? Names have been heard and honored here. Alongside these, we know there are certain joys and concerns which remain private and unspoken this hour. Those too have a rightful place. So this morning, we honor them with light. We light this candle for our families and our beloveds, our friends, and for all relations, for those near and for those from whom we feel an unwanted distance. May this candle inspire us to use our power for it to heal, not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse. May its radiance pour out upon our hearts and spread light into the darkened corners of the world. please join me and the choir members in singing our meditation on breathing, number 1009, the Teal hymnal, and we'll sing it through 3 times. So I unofficially became a UU 21 years and 1 month ago when I married a lifelong UU at her home church. I say unofficial because I really didn't know at the time how deeply I was ready to go into this seemingly creedless, well definitely creedless, non-traditional faith tradition. I came from a heavily theological, ethics-based, ritualistic tradition, and Unitarian Universalism seemed to have none of that with any consistency. I still married her anyways, and we're still together 21 years later, so obviously there was some draw there for me. But really it was more when I started learning about the history and theology of Unitarian Universalism that I had a better grasp and better feeling about what I was getting myself into. And that was helped by, at my home parish in Framingham, because they offered these sessions which we sort of now understand as new to UU, but it was a bit longer term than what we generally offer now. And it was for people who were new to the faith tradition in some way. It could have been new members or just people who were curious, or people that weren't not decided yet. It was great for me because everyone that was in these sessions was, other than my wife who came just to learn more, but she knew a lot. It was just a different setting for her. But everybody else was really like me. They were coming from somewhere else. They were former Christian, former Jew, former other. Some of them were interfaith couples. Many were non-married. And some were just, again, just curious. So today, like I said, a lot of UU churches have this new to UU. And in a world where the rising numbers of religiously unaffiliated persons, a reality that we learned through the work of the Blue Sky Task Force and the consultant, it's probably more important than ever to be clear on who we are and what it means for us and the communities we come from to be here on a Sunday for a Unitarian Universalist worship service. So, who are we? Or better yet, what does it mean to be a Unitarian Universalist nowadays? Well, our friend Jet Pig, I think, can give us a starting point anyways. And I'm not going to go through necessarily the history of 7 principles and the 6 values. It's more important to understand that what Jet Pig represents, which is that many congregations, UU congregations, are moving ahead, as the UUA seems to be, with this idea of 6 values with love at the center, whether they're voted on in June or not to replace the principles. There are other indicators that this movement's going forward. As you may have heard, we use a program called Soul Matters for worship planning and also for small groups. And even Soul Matters has worked in the values to all of its themes for the year. This month is pluralism. The 7 principles are still here. They have been a way for UUs to make shape of religion with no creeds, been a way to do elevator speeches. They've been guideposts that others can use as a way to connect with their own faith tradition. But now it seems that the larger faith movement, Unitarian Universalism, has been pulling us in a little bit different direction in the past decade, and we're being asked to respond. Now I've heard Unitarian Universalism called not a real religion, people in my family, or that we don't believe anything, or even UUs themselves, as I was learning about it, had said, you can believe anything you want. And I thought the 7 principles gave a good sort of counter to that. There are some things we do believe in. So how do the new values address this? Well, as I said, today is pluralism, so that's the P in JetPay. There seems to be no mention of this word pluralism. I have to say this a lot, so make sure I get it out. Pluralism. In the 7 principles. It's also one of those words that begs the question, well, pluralism, if they accept all religions, how can you be one on your own? How can you be pluralist, but be an entity by yourself? Now, that was me understanding pluralism at a different time in my life. I understand it a lot better now, and I hope I can relate to you how I understand it better. There seem to be two mutually exclusive tenets that I understand about true pluralism. That is, one, any faith tradition who's going to be pluralist ought to honor and respect others and not treat them as less than. That's got to happen. And number two, a faith tradition must affirm who it is in relation to the other traditions and in relation to the world. So those are the two, I feel, the two key tenets of pluralism. A true acceptance of pluralism understands that religions and faith traditions share common goals, and they ought to work together in achieving them, instead of waging war. In truth, religious wars often have more to do with power, control, and authority than they do with theological differences. Religion is meant to bring people together, to create trusting and responsible or accountable relationships that help each other and serve a common good. In fact, there's a legal definition from 100 years ago that Chief Justice Hughes made about religion, which is that it's a belief in relation to God involving duties superior to those arising from any human relation. So in essence, we as a religious community seek to connect with something greater than ourselves and be active in sustaining it. But if all religions kind of fall under this definition, why are there so many religions in the world? And easy question, easy answer, people are diverse. Our experiences are diverse. And pluralism celebrates this diversity. It celebrates, not tolerates. It celebrates the worth and dignity of each tradition. That's a key distinction. We don't just tolerate it. But that second thing I mentioned before, I think, is even more important now. A faith tradition must affirm who it is in relation to other traditions in the world. Too often there have been times in our Unitarian Universalist history where we've been criticized for appropriating other cultures and traditions under the guise of drawing wisdom from these sources. In our search for truth and meaning, we at times forgot that we ourselves have a unique history, and that forming traditions is more organic than it is mechanical. You just piece it together, but it arises from your own experiences. With pluralism as a core value, we will be reminded to embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. So say our proposed bylaws. So what are we here at Unitarian Universalist Society of Wellesley Hills doing that honors this value of pluralism and heeds the call of living our shared values in love? Many of you have answers to that. I can point to just what we're doing today in activities this morning and this afternoon. This afternoon we have a Black Lives Matter vigil that celebrates diversity and welcomes all people of faith to join us, and we know they do. It's a common purpose that unites people in this community, and they come from diverse faith traditions to work together in solidarity against injustices in our country that continue to persist. And this activity does not diminish, but strengthens the identity of what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. We have justice and equity and pluralism, and we hope that we can transform those who promote injustice and inequality and try to divide us through religious bigotry. See, I just mentioned 4 of the letters in JetPeg right there, things that we do. And on the other side of the coin, our morning's offering went to Temple Beth Elohim's efforts to help new immigrants. It's another example of pluralism in action. Although it's their initiative in living out their values, we, like when the members of their congregation come for our vigils, have joined in their good work, working towards a common purpose. In this case, helping those in our communities who don't have the resources to get acclimated to our society. The stakes are high for this kind of interfaith organizing to spread and to thrive in this world. As many of you know, both anti-Semitism and Islamophobia have risen across the globe recently, and division grows among citizens everywhere, leaving political systems weakened and ripe for tyranny to rise. Our past UUA president, Susan Frederick Gray, declared in 2018, "It is no time for a casual faith." We need more interfaith organizing. Taking a pluralist attitude to our interfaith relations can help facilitate that. Now, you might have gleaned from my story earlier that there was some truth. I had worked with the Sai Baba group at another church. In fact, the first two churches where I worked, both congregations had relationships with other faith traditions that were utilized in the same space but at different times. Now, for many of the members of the congregation, this is great rental revenue for us. And only a couple people I found actually had met and talked to the people of these organizations. I tried to reach out to communities to try to learn more, and I learned some stuff about interfaith organizing. And the first thing I learned was one must move slowly in order to develop trust. It is all too easy to be a spiritual tourist and say, oh, you know, what is it that your group does, and just learning about that. But it ends up being kind of for your own personal information in your own game. And sometimes if it goes on too long, it can lead to suspicion, and perhaps the other group loses respect for you if you don't have other intentions in mind, good intentions. So to truly make an interfaith relationship worth cultivating, it takes a mutual understanding that a common purpose underlies contact. You're not there to become a member of their group. You're not a news reporter to find out information about them. You're both a faith tradition within a community. And each faith tradition, as pluralism demands honor and respect, because you're allies within that community. The reason you dialogue, then, is ultimately to use your proximity of place to serve the common good. And that's the promise of pluralism done right. During the presidency of Barack Obama, there were many strides made to open up interfaith dialogue with hope of working towards a more religiously pluralist society. I'd like to close with an excerpt from his address on a new beginning in the Muslim world, which you heard some of earlier. He says, "I believe that America holds within her the truth that regardless of race, religion, or station in life, all of us share common aspirations: to live in peace and security, to get an education, and to work with dignity, to love our families, our communities, and our God. These things we share. This is the hope of all humanity." May it be so. Now, I invite those to rise in body and spirit, and we'll sing our closing hymn, number 193, Our Faith is But a Single Gem. The closing words are spoken in unison. You will find them printed in your order of service or appearing on your screen. Extinguishing this flame, which has burned bright in our midst, we revere what has been kindled and made into warmth and community, light of truth, perpetual spark of hope. We are diverse, we are unique, and we are together here and now. The possibilities are endless. Let us work together to make the possible a reality. Go in peace, to serve, to love, and come back to us in great joy. Amen.